Again, let's start over again. Welcome, everybody. This is our very first episode of the Think and Grow Rich Mastermind, and we're starting with the chapter on introduction, which I thought would be a great place for us to start. And we're here with Walter Perdigo. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Eric Keys and Karin Gatranik. Karin's all the way from Austria. We've got Eric, he's in Georgia, and both Walter and I are in Canada. So we got a bit of an international group here, which I think is kind of exciting. We've all actually known each other for quite a while. I'm trying to think of who I've known longer. Probably, I don't know, it's going to be a toss-up between Walter and Eric. I think Walter, right?
Yeah, I knew you when you were before, as far as I know you, before you
Yeah, I was in the mortgage industry.
You were a mortgage broker. That's how I got to know you.
That's right. Yeah, I did the financing on your house, didn't I?
Yeah.
So Eric has been, that's got to be what, 6 years, I think, Eric, or so?
6 or 7, something like that. I think 6 years. I think
wow.
six, 7, something like that. Yep.
And then Karin is the newest, but it's been a little bit of a while now. What's a good year or so, anyways? It's been longer than that, I think.
Yeah. I think 11 months, 1 year.
Yeah.
Year.
Fascinating how in this industry you can meet people around the world.
Right.
And the nice thing too is when you get involved with people that think the same way in a lot of ways, same mindset, you build good friendships and relationships from it as well, which is I think really important, especially when you're trying to make difference in your life. You need to have that support of people that are like-minded, that are going to help you along your journey, and that's what we have right here. And hopefully the people that are maybe watching us at this particular moment will see that maybe we're some people that they want to hang out with every week, because we're going to be here every week, every Thursday at 3 p.m. Next week is basically the first of the 13 principles, which is desire. But again, we're going to start today with the introduction. And I just realized that because this is being recorded, the recorded version of it can have all the garbage in the beginning, cut it right out of it. I'm always thinking, right? There's got to be a way to fix this. So, one of these things that, all this creativity and things like that comes from reading books and studying books like Think and Grow Rich. You have to think. It's your thoughts that are going to make things happen for you in your life. And basically that's, I think what's really great about this book is the fact that it really truly is, think and grow rich. Now, rich doesn't necessarily mean money. It can mean anything. You could be rich in relationships. You could be rich in health. It could be, anything really. But the book is designed to help us, really live the life we want to live. Now, so being that we're talking about introduction, I thought that, maybe we first talk about how we got introduced to the book, Think and Grow Rich. And I thought, seeing as I just thought of that idea that maybe I'll start. Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm thinking, I can't remember the exact time, but I was probably in my 20s. Now, I wasn't a happy guy. I had a really poor self-image. I think somebody felt sorry for me and actually handed me Think and Grow Rich. I think it was about probably maybe 25 years old. And I did read through it. And I'll be honest, I didn't really get it. And, I know now why I didn't get it, but, at the time I didn't get it. I was a bus driver surrounded by, a lot of great people driving a bus, but it's not an environment where people are, entrepreneurs and, thinking about success. In fact, most of them not even really happy, to be honest with you. So it was actually not much later, maybe a few years later, I met this guy that was kind of like a mentor to me that, and he introduced me to Bob Proctor. And that really clicked. He gave me Bob's old program, You Were Born Rich. And I'm not going to date myself, but it wasn't a MP3. It was something. That wasn't a record player.
HS.
But close.
Phonograph.
So what happened with that is I really, if you go back to, when we're talking about like Barnes in Think and Grow Rich, he made a decision that he wanted to make go and work with Edison. And I was at a point where my decision was that I wanted a better life. And a lot of that happened, I go back to being a bus driver. I was low on the totem pole, so I didn't get a lot of the good runs. I was always driving, where they'd have these split shifts where you'd work 2 or 3 hours in the morning, and then you get the middle of the day off, and you have to come back and work 2 or 3 hours, late in the afternoon into early evening. And it was kind of made a long day. You have a 12-hour day, but it was probably like 7.5 hours of actually getting paid. So it was kind of annoying, but every once in a while, somebody would go on vacation and you could bid on that run while that person's on vacation. And I remember this one time that I bid on an early morning run, which they usually started, 6 o'clock in the morning, and you'd be done by 1, that kind of a thing, which that was perfect. And the interesting thing about it was they had what was referred to as a work bus. And if you started early, the big problem with that is like you might pick the bus up at the bus depot, but you'd finish your day at maybe another end of the run. Like you could be on the other side of town. So the biggest problem you'd have is getting back to your car. So they put the work bus out there so that you didn't take your car. It came and picked you up, and then you just take the bus home, that kind of a thing. So I got on this work bus. Now, you have to keep in mind that everybody on the work bus has probably been there 20, 25 years. That's the senior people. They got those early day runs. And it really hit me when I got on the bus and I realized there wasn't a single happy person on that bus. Nobody was happy. And I'm thinking, geez, that's me 20 years from now. Like, I don't want to be these guys. I already don't like myself. I just can't imagine 20 years from now, I'm really not going to like myself, right? So when Ken Samard, I think he's still around. I tried looking him up once, but anyways, he's the guy that gave me Bob's material, and I went home and I studied it and studied it and studied it. I never stopped watching it, and it made a major difference in my life, and it led me back to reading more about Think and Grow Rich. And that time, after studying Bob's material, I really understood Think and Grow Rich. And I don't think there's anybody that was around at the time, or even, unfortunately, we've lost Bob, but that understood Think and Grow Rich better than him. Like, he actually had it memorized. Like, you could ask him anything about Think and Grow Rich, and he'll tell you what page it's on, what line it is, and everything. Like, he could just boom, boom, boom. And it was really quite fascinating. But so what that did was it led me to start making decisions. Very much like Barnes wanted to follow his dreams, and I started making the decision that I no longer wanted to be a bus driver. Now, I'm not conditioned at that point to do anything other than trade time for money. My dad worked in a factory. He was skilled trade, machine repair kind of thing. So he's always working. He never had a problem finding a job because, again, the skilled trade people were the ones that these factories wanted. And so to do something different was a bit of a stretch for me. I wasn't conditioned that way. What was fascinating about it was when I started to really understand this type of material, I started to really understand that I was conditioned, because when I first got the job driving the bus, my dad had told me I'd won the lottery because they hadn't had a layoff since World War II. Now, here's the interesting thing. 2 months after I got the job, we were on strike for almost a year.
Yeah.
But I wasn't laid off. It would have been better if I was laid off, because I could have got unemployment. But you only got strike pay when you go on strike. So I basically didn't get paid for a year. I had to go get another job just to be able to pay for my brand new Camaro that I thought that was going to get paid for because of my bus driving job. Nice car, though, by the way. It was obviously I'm a Chevy guy, so or was. Now I'm a BMW guy. I think. I don't know what I. But anyways, so that was the interesting thing about that was I realized that my dad meant well, but he had conditioned me to trade time for money, which is probably the worst thing you can really do. You got to do it. You have to do it, but that shouldn't be the lifelong dream. So that was one thing that I learned. And then seeing these guys on the bus, that early morning, work bus scenario, and seeing there was absolutely nobody happy, that made me to make a decision that, life was going to change for me. Now, the crazy thing is I actually went into real estate, which seemed like a really good idea at the time. And I do like real estate, but it's not necessarily the right career for somebody with a poor self-image. Like you got to have some confidence when you do that. But I managed to get by, and then they led me to mortgage brokering. And through all of this, I kept studying mostly Bob Proctor's material, but lots of other things. I started to realize what I really wanted. And that's when I started to build the desire, which we're going to be talking about next week. But that goes back to Barnes. He had a desire to work with Edison, and he made a decision that he was going to do that. And so I made a decision that I wasn't going to be a bus driver anymore. And then through the personal development, I made a desire that I wanted to work with Bob Proctor. And I did that. I got certified with Bob 2 different occasions, his old original programs, which was Life Success Consulting. And then when Sandy Gallagher came on board, they created Thinking into Results, and I got certified with that too. And now I'm sitting here, and I've had people that I worked with all around the world. I've met Karin in Austria. There's no way that if you go back to when I was driving a bus, you would have believed that I was doing this. In fact, I run into people, like I'm actually in the area where I was a bus driver. I came this way to visit with my father, who's he's 90. Well, he'll be 93 this year. Still kicking. But anyways, I keep running into people, and they look at me like I've got 3 heads. Like, what are you talking about? You do what? Huh? You do, huh? You coach who? Because they remember the bus driver. Right. And then I realized too that I really don't want to talk to these people because we have nothing to talk about. They're nice people, but they're bragging about how they're retired bus drivers. So I'm thinking, okay, well, that's great if that's what you like, but did they desire to be a retired bus driver? Like, what did they do between the time that they started and now? Like, did they live? Did they have go after whatever it is they want? So these are the things that I think that we're going to be talking a lot about in the next coming weeks. We've got at least 13. There's 13 principles. So I guess over the next 3 months or so, where we'll be going through all of this. And again, there's some tremendous information in there. And I think that the people we have on this in this group here are all very qualified to help people understand all these little intricacies of the book. We've all got different paths that we've been on. We're all still on different paths, but it all brought us together. And that's one beautiful thing about the personal development work. So that's how I got involved with Think and Grow Rich. And does somebody would like to share their story somewhat? You guys can pick who goes next.
Ladies first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Eric.
I was going to jump in, and then
Eric's still trying to think of it. When did I read Think and Grow Rich?
No, I can't.
Okay. So the time when I came in touch with Think and Grow Rich was exactly 2013. That was the time when I saw The Secret. And I have to say, Bob Proctor mesmerized me at this time. I made many years before I made my certification for a mental coach. And then I saw The Secret, and I saw the movie, and I thought, I want to meet him just one time. I want to meet him, and I want to talk to him. And what can I say? So 3 years ago, he was in Vienna, and I met him. Yeah, I was standing in the mall, and he came in with all the security men, and he came straight in my direction, and he said, "Hi, nice to meet you." And I was so shocked, I couldn't say anything but hi. That was so amazing. Yeah. But 2013, I had the Think and Grow Rich book the first time in my hand. And I have to say, I read it. I got the information, but I read it 2 years. In the last 2 years, many times again. And now it's a totally different understanding. Yeah. I always had your words in my ears, Lee. It's a difference between knowing and understanding.
Mhm.
So I knew all the information, but I couldn't understand it. But now I can say that I created my whole life, and all my manifestations, they started with the decision.
Yeah.
And that's so important. Yeah, if you don't have a vision, a clear decision, you have no manifestation.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the start of
Yeah.
everything.
And you made a decision.
Everything.
You made a decision to get into personal development, and you've got a really kind of a unique thing that you're going to be sharing a program with shortly regarding horses, right? It's like how did that come about?
Yeah, yeah,
How did you come into
yeah.
that?
You mean the coaching with the horses?
Yeah, like you obviously were interested in personal development. You met Bob Proctor face to face, and it's obviously it's led you because we've talked, and I actually know the answers, but I'm trying to act like I don't. So, but you've created a program that you coach people, and you use horses, and a lot of that has to do with vibration, from what I understand. Is that how that works?
Yeah, vibration. Yeah, it's all vibration, and it's so interesting because I love horses since since I'm 10. I spent my whole life with the horses, and when I made the certification to a mental coach, life coach, I went to my horses, and I knew that every time I go to these animals, they are different. They always show me something special. So, and that's why I made another certification to become a horse assisted coach. And then I made my own program. So many people come to me and want to get certified to make this with their clients. And it's so interesting because if you are in an interaction with the horse is a mirror, and the horse shows you exactly in which vibration you are right now.
Mhm.
And this is so beautiful because you can make the vibration visible. So many people ask me, okay, we work together and you coach me and we are making different things, but I want to know where I am right now. Yeah, where I am standing. And then the people, they are near my place. They say, okay, we go to the horses, and then you can see it, because horses don't want to stay with you if you are not in a good vibration. It's the same with people. If you are not in a good vibration, no one wants to be in contact with you.
That's right.
Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to learn with you. This is so interesting. So this is what I do with the horses. I make the vibration visible for the people. Yeah.
So,
And that's my passion.
I'm just curious, going back to Think and Grow Rich, and we're talking about decisions. Do you know when you made that decision that this is what you wanted to do? How long ago was it you decided to make that leap into doing what you do now?
Yeah, I lived with my family in Vienna, and this is when I finished my certification to become a life coach, and I had the first experiences with the horses. This is something that comes out of the stomach. This is something, if you are on the right vibration, you make the decision.
Yep.
Yeah.
This
is
passion,
so
right?
The passion. Yeah. I knew it that that's what I want to do. Yeah.
So you find it, I know you're like Bob Proctor, you're finding that like the stories, especially the stories in Think and Grow Rich, have helped you along the lines with making those decisions?
Yeah, absolutely.
You had a passion, the desire to do it, but you had to decide, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of the stories in Think and Grow Rich, that's them making a decision to follow their passion. Yet that burning desire.
Yeah, the burning desire. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the passion. So I said, I want to do this. I didn't know how. So I had no clue. Everybody around me, all the people asked me, how do you want to do that? I said, I don't know, but I want to do it. The only thing that was really important for me was my vision, my big picture. Yeah.
That's how you know that it's a worthwhile goal. You should not have a clue how to achieve it. It should make you scared. I mean, that should be
Yeah.
the guidance system. If you're not scared,
Yeah.
not big enough, you know.
Yeah.
You're right.
Oh,
You're
it made me
absolutely right.
scared a lot of times. Believe me.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how you talk about the horses. Definitely, animals can feel the emotion. There's no filter on animals. They just feel it. And I don't have
Yeah.
horses, but I do have two cats. And yeah, if you're in a loving mood and everything, oh, they'll be around you all day. When you're in a crabby
Yeah.
mood, forget it. I don't even know where they are. They disappear for the
They go
whole.
away.
They go away. And
Exactly. Yeah.
it's the same thing when you walk into a room. If you're in a crabby mood, if you're in a low vibration, and you walk into another room full of crabby people, you get along just great. If you're the only crabby person walking into a happy room, it's like, north and south magnet, they just push each other. You just don't want to be together. The same thing if you're the
Yeah.
only happy person in a crabby room. It's just, like vibration wants to be around like vibration. That's basically a law of attraction. You want to be close to the same kind of vibration, same kind of energy. And yeah, creating your goals, it's critical to be in a high vibration, in a mood of love, of hope, of
Mhm.
desire.
So, do you think we all need to go get a horse?
Definitely.
I have a
But
16-year-old
you must
cat
try it. Yeah, that's for sure.
I have a 16-year-old cat who's just figured out not to bug me when I'm trying to have coffee in the morning. It's only taken her 16 years. Now she doesn't even come near me. She just goes and falls asleep, and then a little bit later on the day when I'm more awake, she starts to come around. And
Yeah.
so
I
you're
love
absolutely right. They pick up on the vibration, but
Mhm.
I'd love a horse, but it'd be a mess in my house because I don't have no ranch. Definitely need a ranch.
yeah, I don't have a ranch either.
That's a big litter box. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Too big for me.
So
Yeah.
what's your
And
who wants to talk about their story now? Thank you, Karin. Actually, that's you're going to be putting a program up on the Elevate Network soon regarding with the horses. Is there a
Yeah.
time frame on when you think that might be something that people can look forward to? You already have a
I'm
program up
sure
there.
the next 2-3 weeks
Yeah,
it's gonna
great.
be ready.
Right.
Yeah.
Exciting. We'll have to make sure everybody knows about it. Now, you do already have a program up there, which is abundance tuning, and it's in German, which is nice, right? That's exciting. All about
Yeah.
vibration.
All
So
of
even now, if you think about it, you
vibration,
made
and
a
this also
decision.
helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You made a decision that we're going to write a book, and then you figured out a way to make it happen, right? It all happened. The same thing with Barnes wanted to work with Edison. He didn't really want to work for him; he wanted to partner with him. And you've done something very similar, haven't you? Although not with Edison.
Mhm. Yeah.
So who wants to? Walter, Eric, who wants to tell us?
I'll let Eric go because he was a gentleman. You go next.
Because I was what?
You're a gentleman. You let Karin go.
Appreciate it. I think my first interaction with Think and Grow Rich was around 2013. That's when I left corporate America. I had no clue, what I was going to do after I left corporate America. I literally walked in with my resignation and quit my job. And with young kids, I don't encourage people to do that. But literally just walked in with my resignation and had no clue, didn't really know about the universe, didn't know that I was manifesting a lot of stuff in my life, but didn't understand the concept because I'd never really studied it before. And so around 2013, 2014-ish, just came in contact with the book. Much like yourself, Lee, read it the first time, had absolutely no clue what it was talking about. It was hard for me to get through it, honestly, the first time, just simply because I didn't understand it. I mean, you know, I'm like, I don't know about this stuff. This is kind of hokey stuff, you know, because I just wasn't, you know, I wasn't in the right mindset, right frame of mind to, I wasn't open, basically, is what I'm saying. And since that time, you know, since really, really getting the concepts, you know, being broke has a way of humbling people. when you hit rock bottom and you don't have anywhere else to go but up, you kind of start looking for anything and at everything. And so I really started looking at everything and just trying to figure out how to come off the bottom of you know, out the bottoms and move up. And so really started just really started looking more in the personal development realm. You know, I've worked with some network marketing companies in the past, and all of them are, you know, personal development wrapped into a business. So really just started looking at myself and really start taking more responsibility for the actions and the things that were happening in my life. And as a result, you know, read Think and Grow Rich a couple of times. And, you know, even now preparing for this mastermind, now I'm finding that the way I'm understanding it now is light years ahead of where I was, you know, even a few months ago, to be honest, just simply because I've opened up a lot more. I've grown so much over the past year. I've done a lot of work with myself over the past year. And that's really, really helping me to move and shake and make better decisions. I am noticing that I'm making decisions so much faster, which we're going to get into next week. If you're not tuning in, planning to tune in, definitely want to tune in for next week, because again, you know, the decision is the foundation for everything. Everything is built on that decision, and once you learn that, it makes life so much easier, because once you decide and you know the what, you get to a place where you're comfortable with not knowing the how. And that how just, you know without a shadow of a doubt that it's going to come if your faith is bigger than your fear. And so when you live in the faith of knowing the how will come to you, you just need to figure out what it is you need. Then your life becomes different. You know, there's a different level of peace. There's a different level of happiness. There's a different level of knowing yourself and being yourself and being you, and understanding that we all were created uniquely. And, you know, when you really think about the fact that that you're the only you that ever has been or ever will be, and your purpose is so powerful on the planet, then you start really kind of looking at yourself differently. And I think that kind of comes with maturity, not just age-wise maturity, but maturity in yourself. And Think and Grow Rich is the type of book that helps you to grow in that level of maturity, so that you can have, do, and be everything that you want. You understand that, you know, the only limits you have sit literally right between your ears. And that's so powerful. It's so powerful to get to that place. I'm so glad that, you know, I'm glad for the concepts of the book. And, you know, I had a friend that introduced me to Bob's program back in the day. And that's when I really started kind of in the realm of it, like, man, what is this, man? It actually was You Were Born Rich that he introduced me to. Yeah. And so, you know, came in contact with Lee, and that really was, man, from that point, it was truly leaps and bounds. I couldn't imagine, you know, well, I could. I was getting ready to say I couldn't imagine the life that I have now, but I could. I actually did imagine. I was like, you know, I want to live this way and have a certain, you know, certain this and certain that, and have a house that looks like this, and everything has come to pass. I mean, everything has come to pass, and there's, you know, obviously there's more to come, but, you know, just like Walter said, you know, if your dreams don't scare you, I mean, you know, I'm going to use a little bit of adult language, but if it don't scare the shit out of you, man, you're not in the right spot. I mean, you really aren't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but so many people get to that place and they think, there's no way that this is right. Like I can't be living like this. I can never do that. But you can do anything. There's nothing that's off limits. So again, that's what Think and Grow Rich does for you. That's what, you know, the desire, the burning desire that they talk about, thinking about that burning desire and getting it in your heart it's just like the law of gravity. It must come to pass. You know, there is no question about it. It will happen for you.
Yeah.
And so I'm elated that I found not only the book, but also the people that I'm able to be around, you know, just to be sitting in the presence of the greatness of that's on this call is amazing. Not to mention the other individuals that are to come, because, you know, they're coming. And I think that the Elevate Network is the perfect place for a lot of people to be, to like-minded people to grow, learn and grow and go together. It's awesome, absolutely awesome.
I've been lucky enough to watch you make some really good decisions.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
you know, the desire, like I see it, like, you know, you have an engineering background, don't you? I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you were doing that when I first met you. But that didn't actually last long. You went off and you got into doing a lot more coaching and helping people. And you've got some great programs. You've got one up on the Elevate Network already called Grow, which is fantastic. There's another one you got coming. You want to tell us a little bit about the one that's on its way?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next program is called Renaissance Men. You know, just in my life and in my dealings in life, I always befriended women more than men. And so a lot of times, you know, a lot of women would say, "You're such a good dude." Now I started just thinking about it. What makes me a good dude? And really just, you know, just looking around at what is going on in the world today, knowing my own journey, how, you know, I really lost my way and really needed some really, really positive people in my life to help me to get back on track. Thank you, Reed. And so as a result of that, man, I noticed that there are a lot of men on the planet right now that are really kind of scrambling, just trying to figure it out, trying to figure out their way, trying to figure out their purpose, trying to figure out how they're supposed to move, who they are. And so, you know, I created a group, a mastermind group called Renaissance Men. And the purpose of it is to be a connected community of men whose clear vision releases their best version. And so, you know, a lot of times as dudes, we don't have a community where we're able to be vulnerable. We have to show up as men and be manly in every aspect of life. And so we're not able to release, or we're not able to relate in a lot of arenas simply because we just don't have a place for it. So I always wanted a place for it, so I created it. It is online. It is coming on the Elevate Network. And so, you know, we will be meeting once a week. It'll be, you know, via Zoom. The purpose of it is for us to really discuss things that are going on in your life, like really hardcore things. And so, you know, we deal with life as we're real men dealing with real issues in real life. And so, you know, that's the whole purpose of it, to help men to go and grow, for us to create a community where it's cool for you to be vulnerable, where it's cool for you to express yourself as well as ask for help. And a lot of times as men, we truly don't want to ask for help because we think it's a sign of weakness, and we struggle, and we struggle, and we stay in the mud for far too long when someone has their hand out reaching to pull you up. So I just want to be the hand to help pull me up.
Very good. So you obviously have a burning desire in your heart to make a difference, men, community, but I think it's going to benefit women too, because you get men that are a little bit more honest with themselves. They're going to have better relationships with everybody, I would imagine. Now, what's the name of your company?
The name of my company is Live Gigantic.
Live Gigantic. Where did that come from?
Well, I'm a little guy. I'm 6 feet 9 inches tall. So yeah, you know,
just a little guy.
Just a little bit of height to me. Just a little bit of height to me. But to be honest with you, the way the concept came to me was here's a story for you. So I literally had hit rock bottom. I just had no clue what I was supposed to do. I had no clue where I was supposed to go, and I literally laid on the floor in my house, face down, and tapped out. I just tapped out. I had the snot bubble cry. I'm tapping out, And I say, God, if you just show me what I'm supposed to do, I have no clue. I know that you have a lot for me to do. God, universe, whomever you all want to call it, but for me it was God. And so I just said, just show me what you want me to do, and I'll go do it. If you give it to me, I'll go do it. And literally woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning and heard the voice that said, start a company, name it Live Gigantic, and I'll take it places you've never seen before. And so I started asking, the next thing I asked for was a mentor or a coach. That was December of 2014. And it was January 2015 when I met you. And so January of 2015, Lee appeared in my life. And that was, it's been a whirlwind since then. But
it keeps getting better, I think, like you said.
Yeah, right.
So many things in the works. It's exciting.
Right. So again, man, we all we have to do is ask, man. We just have to ask. We have to get to a point again where it's a burning desire, and lack gets you in that place sometimes. And I don't encourage people to get to a place where you are just desperate. Make the decision that you want change, and you want the best of life that life has to offer for you, because all of us can have it. I mean, we truly can have it. Every single one of us. We deserve it. If you look at the principles of any religious book, is all about abundance. It's all about living in abundance. And so we were created to live that way.
Right, yeah.
So it's here for the taking. It's ours to go and get it. But again, you have to decide.
Anything and everything you could ever imagine already exists. You just have to be open to receiving the how. And that's a lot of what's in this book, is helping you understand that, the only reason you don't have everything you desire is because you're blocking it.
That's it.
I mentioned earlier when I was a bus driver, and my dad said I felt like I won the lottery because they hadn't had a layoff since World War II. Well, I was conditioned to trade my time for money. Well, I wasn't open to receiving opportunities. I was looking for a job, right? And that's the same thing. Like, you went from like an engineering background. I followed, obviously, I know a lot of your story to where you are today. Well, that's the desire in your heart. And you made a decision to follow that desire, just like Barnes did, wanting to work for Edison. Like he didn't even have the money to get there, right? They talk about it in the book about how he took a freight train, but he was determined. This is his desire. He wants to work with Edison, and he did it. He made the decision to get on that freight train. Like you have made a decision to live the life you want to live, and it's going really, really well. You got a beautiful family. You're helping people around the world. You've got a new program coming. I think it's going to be amazing. You're living exactly what Napoleon Hill is talking about, and everybody else that's in that book as well. And I think it's going to be pretty exciting to keep going forward and see where we go with it all, right?
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. I'm proud to be a part of it, man. I'm, just to, man, I wake up every day and the first thing I do is get on the elevator and work. I promise you.
Good, yeah.
If the action is the important thing, and it's just like there's compound interest. If you save over time, it's the same thing with action. Any action. If you feel down, just do something to take one more step forward. That's all it takes. Continual action, right? Yeah, it's an amazing story, Eric. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Walter, you want to tell it? Go ahead. Sorry, Colin. Go ahead.
The power also was something that was when I had the Think and Grow Rich book in my hands. When I read all the information, it was. On one side, it was so fascinating and beautiful. On the other side, it was scary.
Yeah.
I remember that, because if you recognize and you be aware how powerful you are, I thought, this is amazing. This is amazing. What can happen? What can you do? What can you create? Yeah. So that's why you said, Eric, the power that we have. Yeah, this is, and this is interesting for many people. They show they are here on the call, and they are not so involved in this information and in the book. So don't be scared. It's beautiful if you find your power.
You think about it, we're four people that didn't start at the top.
No,
Like it's
no.
I struggled a great many years, and I know all of you have had struggles. So it's
Yeah.
anybody who is watching us, over the next coming weeks and that, we're going to be talking about, again, everything that's in Think and Grow Rich, and the answers are there. And, we're four people that can tell you that everything that we're going to be talking about is true. And
Yeah.
the more you start to understand it, the more aware you become, then you too can live whatever life you want, just like, the stories that are in Think and Grow Rich. It's pretty fantastic. Now, Walter, you got a good story as well.
I do. Yeah. I started, I've always been a good boy, a real nice kid and all of that. That's what
Until now, right? Until now.
He's the nicest guy. And I know it. I'm proud of that. But I got told, I can't tell how many times nice guys finish last. Oh, you're too nice, all that stuff. But that's fine. So I was always a nice, shy kid. And I remember this day. I was 10 years old. I get into it in the course when it'll be released. But my epiphany came when I was 10. I was basically playing in the schoolyard with some friends and got chased by a gang. Like we were running for our lives, really. And we escaped. Thank God all the gang members were smokers, so they couldn't run so fast. So anyway, we ran, I jumped over a fence, and that was it. So I was, thinking about what was going on there, walking home. And then this epiphany came, and it was just, I felt like I had this need to help. That's it. That was I just felt this desire, and I started seeing this vision of me in the future in a sport jacket beside a sports car, helping people. I didn't know what that meant, but that was my burning desire. I was just walking home and it hit me. And so from that point forward, from 10 onwards, I was always on this goal achievement. Let's say when I first started, it was all about achieving goals. That was the extent of my experience. Get stuff. So I started reading all kinds of books, and I've read Think and Grow Rich. So Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Jose Silva, and then when I was going to college in early on, even before that, probably when I was 16, is when I first read Think and Grow Rich. And it's funny because when we're going to go through this, we learn about the ego and paradigm, which is really just your truth, your pre-programmed truth. You can't see yourself as special when you first read it. I think that's probably true for all of us. We read it, you understand it, but you can't see yourself there yet, right? And I was thinking of the same thing. And I had no wisdom. I was 16 years old, but I understood the steps, so I would write down my goals, and I'd think of my goals and everything. I didn't believe them, but I would write them down and all of that. So it didn't mean much. It didn't have a huge impact to me the first time I read it. But anyway, I was a goal achiever, and all through up until I was 40, I got married, had 2 great kids. I ran a college pro painting franchise just before going to college. I was 18, made $45,000 that summer, which was like $1 million for me back then. I helped pay for college and all of that. Became a manager, an IT manager. I'd managed like 13 system engineers and all that. By the time I was 40, I was making 6-figure income. So on the surface, it looked great. I was married, happily married, I thought. I was fairly fit, making good income and all of that. And then in 6 months, everything changed. That was my pit moment. I went from making good money, married, in a home, nice home and everything. Within 6 months, I had been laid off from my job. My wife had left me. I was a single dad with 2 kids, living with my mom, and then out of work. And then I got depressed, and my health went, and I almost passed out in the shower, and I didn't know why. And they took my blood pressure, and it was 175 over 115. And to anyone who's young, that doesn't mean anything, but that's like a heart attack waiting to happen. It's like your heart's gonna explode. And so yeah, that was kind of my pit moment. That was about my low of low. I just said, what is this? I'm following all these rules, right? What's missing? I'm failing. That was in my mind. I'm failing. But that was where the epiphany happened. And I really just kind of realized that, happiness isn't a destination. It's not when I have this, and if I reach this goal and I get that. It's a choice, and it's from that choice of being happy and understanding that this is really a beautiful life. Like, we have no comprehension, a lot of people, just how beautiful this life is. Like, we're in a constant state of creation. And like in the book, don't blame other people for your circumstance, right? Some of it is sometimes out of your control, but it has a lot to do with who you're hanging out with, who's influencing you. It's your constant thoughts that get you into the moment that you're at. So where I got out of that, what I got out of that, I was focusing on my goals, and my goals were, I wanted to be in a happy, sort of passionate relationship. Well, my current, at the time, my first wife, we were good friends, but for 2 years it wasn't good. I mean, I would never admit that. Now I can, but we weren't passionate by any stretch at that point. And so, I also wanted to run my own business. I always wanted to have $1 million software business. I'm an IT geek, but I was always scared to not have, the security of a job. But the irony was, well, I had a job and I got laid off. So I have no security. There's no security. At least if you have your own business, if you screw up, it's on you, and you can see it coming and you can plan for it, right? If you're working for somebody else, they can lay you off for any reason whatsoever, and it's always a surprise, right? So basically what I learned was the universe was adjusting. You know what I mean? I was focused on having a great, finding a great love and having a great company, right? So none of that could have happened if I had my old life. It's like your old life, my old life had to die for my new life to be born, It's almost like you're being constantly reborn. And so through the next, whatever, from the time I was 40 to now, I met my, talk about when I started dating again, talk about a great opening line. Hi, I'm divorced, living with my mom. I have 2 kids, I have no job. So yeah, those first few were, but I found my wife is amazing. And we got married in a destination wedding in Mexico, in Tulum. It was a beautiful
Nice.
5-star resort. Since then, I've started my software company. It's a 7-figure company. We're targeting 8 figures. Drive my dream car and all that. Anyway, it completely changed, and I just chose to be happy regardless of the circumstance.
So did you say you made a decision to be happy? That was the idea.
That was it. It'd be happy and understand that life, it's not the destination. Giving that desire gives you the spice of life to get up, I think. That's the whole point of the desire. That's the start of everything. When we're desiring things, we're creating. When we're living consciously, we're creating. When we're subconscious, when we're just being what we were pre-programmed to be, we're coasting. We're not expanding. We're just even keel. And then as we'll learn in the next few lessons, that's our ego. I think when you become self-aware, it's when you understand that there's conscious and subconscious. When we're not self-aware, we think our subconscious is us. The way we were brought up, that's us. My dad was angry, that's why I'm angry. I lived in a crappy neighborhood, that's what I'm destined for. That's just simply not true. That's just a system. Like, once you're self-aware, you kind of realize that's just a system to tell you how you're perceiving what's going on in front of you based on your current paradigm, your current beliefs. If it matches your current beliefs, you'll think, oh, okay, that's a good thing. If it doesn't match, oh, it's scary, it's wrong. And that's it. So the other key thing I thought was to start learning to see things objectively, like use our objective vision, which just means don't put a story around it. When something happens, oh, you lost your job. Our ego will go in, and because of fear, oh, how am I going to pay my rent? Oh my God, my kids, what am I, my wife's going to leave me, whatever. Well, you can just frame it that you lost your job. That's the truth. You lost your job. Now, the story around it, you're free to put whatever story you want around that. And it's obviously best for us to say, well, what can I learn from it? How do I grow from this? So in my case, it's, well, now I'm free to start my company which I was always handcuffed before out of fear. Well, now this opens the door, right? Oh, I had, got divorced, but we weren't really happy. Now I can really be open to find, someone that's
hitting rock bottom helped you make some actually really good decisions.
Absolutely.
Like
yeah.
even when I met you, you had your business, but you were basically kind of subcontracting for somebody, weren't you? I think, right?
Yeah, we were.
And now you have your own platform, and
That's
it's
right.
your own thing. So,
Yeah.
living with mom flat broke and out of work was helped you make the decision. Right? And
I didn't. I was terrified. It's kind of like Eric. I just made the decision. I just
you just
said,
have to do it. Right?
and at that point, yeah, I just started focusing on, yeah, it was, great things about being married, but there's equally great things on being single. Life is great no matter what your circumstance. So being single just means I was free to go in whatever direction I want without any, having to talk to anybody about it.
Think about we learn from when everything goes on in our life, and sometimes when you have a burning desire in your heart for something big, this universe makes us crash and burn first because you have to learn from it. So yeah. One of the things you have to also be careful of is what you're actually putting out in the universe, because the universe answers, or God, whatever you want to call it. I do refer to it as God, but again, it's call it whatever you want. It's going to respond, and whatever vibration you're in. So, if you're telling this universe that I want this big, beautiful life, I want this special person in my life, I want this certain kind of income, well, you may have to crash and burn to actually learn to get you there. So keep that in mind that, if you're crashing and burning, it's temporary.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
because
that was
the answer is already here, but you can't see it because you're blinded by all the other garbage in your life. So the crash and burn is you being open now to seeing it. And you're going to find, like even my own case, like I've crashed and burned many, many times, but I understand why. That's why I think I'm pretty good at helping other people understand why. It's because I've done it. And I can tell you, I haven't told you half of the stories, but I've crashed and burned a lot. Well, and I've learned so much every time. Like there's nothing anymore someone can say to me that I don't completely understand. I've been there. And that's when you were talking about paradigms. Like that's the thing, is those paradigms are stopping us from really seeing the truth.
Yeah, you become self-aware. You realize that you've been programmed by what you've seen from your friends, your family, mostly your parents when you're growing up, and they're your real truth. That's what gets programmed in your subconscious. That's your first reaction to any circumstance, right? But you can reprogram it. And again, we're going to go through the lessons. That's the whole thing of repetition, daily rituals. All of that is crucial, because that's the only way to reprogram your subconscious. After a while, you don't need to consciously think about it anymore, because it's in your subconscious. That becomes the first thing that pops into your head. You don't have to struggle at being positive anymore, because you've done it so many times that it just is a part of you now, because it's part of your subconscious. I just want to.
That kind of leads all into another part. That's I think a big part of the introduction into Think and Grow Rich is Darby's story of searching for gold. Invested all this time and money into it, and then ended up basically 3 feet away from the gold that he was searching for. Right. So that's another thing, we've all talked about, hitting a wall every once in a while. Our conditioning causes us to hit a wall, because, as you start to become more successful, if you're not conditioned for that success, there's a very good chance that you're going to hit a wall and you're going to crash. But again, from the understanding, and you can get that from studying Think and Grow Rich, you can learn to understand when it's happening, and when you can understand it's happening, then you can go through that wall into the success and the freedom you're looking for. Like Darby wasn't obviously geared for the success that he was about to have. In fact, gave up and then sold the equipment to a junk man who was brilliant enough to think, wait a minute, I've got all this wonderful equipment that I paid pennies on the dollar for. What do I need to do with it? instead of, just trying to sell it again, he thought, wait a minute, why don't I find an expert that actually understands? And that's when they actually found that they were only 3 feet away from gold. And he became a very, very rich man because of it. Right. Yeah. So those are things. Can you think of anybody who wants to add to this? Can you think of times in your life where you were 3 feet from gold? And had you known this particular part of this story, that maybe it would have turned out completely different if you had gotten maybe some advice from somebody that maybe knows something a little bit better than maybe you did or something like that. Can anybody want to add to that?
I mean, I can add, I actually felt the need to shut my company down because at the time, our sales were, a few customers weren't paying or were late paying. And we made it's a lot of money, but not for a company of so many people, 10 grand. It was 10 grand one month. And that didn't even pay for, a couple of salaries. And at that point, of course, everyone's saying, oh man, you got to shut down everything. I said, no, the only thing left was my faith. And
you seek out expert advice like the junk man did?
I just started really reading up on, then when I start feeling down like that, I start reading up on Think and Grow Rich and other, on faith. Basically, just start reading up on faith. So I just stuck with it for no other reason, just blind faith. And then out of the blue, 3 new customers just kind of popped up, and our revenues like blew
That's
up.
more probably law of attraction than it is the lesson on 3 feet from gold. Like we're talking about expert advice, and so you attracted it to you, which is, again, it's that burning desire inside. Oh, you, Eric, I know you've been 3 feet from gold a couple of times, and now you're finding the gold.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but you were my expert advice back in the day. Because I was in a place where I thought that I couldn't have anything. I felt worthless. And so, when God placed us together, it was an opportunity for me to really grow and learn and figure out. It was more about me figuring out who I was, because you could, a lot of times you need someone else in your life who can see you and see your blind spots, but they can see you for who you are, when we can only see ourselves for who we perceive ourselves, right? So I think about it with my kids. I can see them for who they are. I mean, they are ridiculously talented people who can do so much good for the world. But they have to, sometimes you need someone to help you see that. And listen, we're on here talking right now, but man, I'm sure every single one of us can say this, and I'm sure with a lot of certainty can say, every single one of us on a daily basis goes through times when we need to seek out expert advice. And that's why
these kind of things are great. Having people like this that we can talk.
That's why it's so vitally important to make sure you surround yourself with the right people. Because again, I honestly see this as expert advice. And so for me, I'm excited because I'm really kind of in a space where I'm reinventing myself right now. And so this,
it's supposed to be like that forever, isn't it? Aren't we always supposed to be reinventing?
Yeah, we're constantly
always supposed to be seeking something, aren't we?
Yeah,
you're not growing unless you're seeking something.
You're either growing or dying, and everything.
How many times have we had conversation? I say, Eric, you don't need that guy. That guy needs you.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh!
And then next thing you know, you're doing something completely different, and it's working.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I mean, it was so many times. So I mean, I understand the power of a coach, like and sometimes as a coach, sometimes I have well, I can't remember the name of it, but when you kind of doubt yourself as a coach because you're like, well, I've never done this before. But if you look at the Michael Jordans of the world, every coach he ever had could not play basketball as good as he could. But they were able to help him go to another level because they can see something in him and help push him to the next level. So it's all about, man, for me, I am constantly seeking out expert advice. I used to pride myself on trying to be the smartest person in the room. That was my ego. Now I do my absolute best to be as close to the dumbest person in the room as I can possibly be, because I can learn so much from so many other people, and so expert advice is everything for me, especially
I
now.
remember, hanging out, with the training that I got from Bob Proctor. I got opportunities to be around him. I was at his house and things like that, and we'd go to the events that he's putting on, and he always had brilliant things he was saying. But I'd heard it so many times that I could almost tell you what he's going to say next, right? And again, the constant repetition is what you need. But I was already at a point where I want to hear something different. And what I found was I learned more by just watching him, how he would interact with people, and how, when he was up speaking, how he would pause. And I realized that, and I've actually with conversations with him, learned that, he was taught that. He studied how to do that. Like, the guy was a master on stage. Like, he would raise his voice and they get quiet, and then it's like, "Wah!" and it's like right at all the right times. And you see him pace and things like that. One of the things that I thought was really fascinating, and again, this goes back into the idea of expert advice, is every once in a while he'd get really excited about something and get on a tangent where he's talking about something, so he's off script, which that's the best times, because he would say stuff that you didn't necessarily hear before, or he'd say it differently, right? But he would also sometimes lose his place. Now, he's an expert on Think and Grow Rich. Like, he literally, you could ask him anything, he'll tell you exactly where it was in the book and exactly what it says, because he studied it that much. He would study like one page every day for like 30 days and things like that. That's the kind of things he did. And what was fascinating, he had this old beat up Think and Grow Rich book. He always had it with him. It's falling apart. It's leather bound. Somebody gave it to him as a gift. It was all falling apart. It's got all kinds of notes and everything. It's all highlighted. It's worth millions, I would think, if it's ever for sale, right? This is Bob Proctor's Think and Grow Rich book. Like, come on. Like, but what's fascinating was he'd get off topic and he'd maybe lose his place. And he'd always go right back to Think and Grow Rich and start talking about something in Think and Grow Rich. He'd pick up his book and open it up. And he'd be reading something, but he isn't reading it. He has it memorized. And what I realized he was doing is he actually had points of where he's supposed to be in the talk. So he was so good at knowing Think and Grow Rich that he could just say it. And really what he was doing was looking at his notes just to see where he left off at. Those are the kind of things that I learned by watching him. Again, that's expert advice that, I don't know that I'm ever going to be like Bob Proctor, nor do I. Sure, I have the desire to do all that. I don't want to go on tours, and I don't necessarily want to do all that kind of stuff. I have a different idea of what I want to do. But it's fascinating when you really, like you were saying, being the dumbest person in a room, like that's exactly, I want to be the same thing. I want to just sit and watch and see what people are going to do and say. And that's where you learn, because this material, like, the reality is there's nothing really new. It's just said differently. Like, you're not going to, even the greatest new book that's out, might be really exciting. But the reality is they're saying the same things as someone else has said, because it's not new. The information has always been here since the beginning of time. You can go back into the Bible and find the exact kind of same information. You can find things that Jesus said that were the same thing. He just said it differently, or it was written differently, that kind of thing. But you're absolutely right with the expert advice. And so 3 feet from gold, I think that the gold is all within grasp. What about you, Karin? Is you find that you found times where you were 3 feet from gold and you found the advice and the expertise and things that you needed as well?
Absolutely. I can say thank you, Lee.
This is about me.
It was also when I saw The Secret, or I read the Think and Grow Rich, and I thought, okay, I want this. Especially the last 2 years. I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to bring the information out in the world to so many people as possible, all around the world. And how can I do that? I don't know how. Yeah, no clue. I don't know. So the next step was, I'm going to create an online course. So I'm going to make more in my online business. So how can I do it? And what's the next step? I don't know. So learning the skills was the next step. I tried to figure out, how can I do a landing page, a sales page? How can I do all this stuff with the video? And technique is not so my part. Is not my best friend. Yeah. So and then we met, Lee, and now I'm here in this wonderful group on the Elevate Network, and this is the chance to bring all the informations out in the world. Yeah. So
you're doing
that's
fantastic.
it. And everybody needs expert advice, because we only have one perspective, and we all need different perspectives to grow. Yeah, to see other many possibilities and opportunities. It's so important. Yeah.
Well, I know for a fact you're doing well. You're doing really well. And
and I had always my whole life. So when I look back now, I always had the right people at the right time in my life. It's always a matter of awareness.
Yeah, who you surround yourself with. I mean, this here is a mastermind, but yeah, I ended up writing my book, and it's called C-Bar. So C-Bar just stands for conceive, believe, achieve, receive. So C-Bar obviously comes from
great.
Yeah, conceive, whatever you can conceive and believe you can achieve. That was Napoleon Hill. I just added receive, which just means the persistence part, which is also part of Think and Grow Rich. And then I added other stuff to it, obviously, just like all of us did. But writing it was actually when I was part of a mastermind. So just being part of like-minded, positive people on a regular basis is really, really important. You know, you want somebody that's going to prop you up and give you more ideas. And I'm not sure how to do this. Oh, we'll try that. And just kind of keep propelling you forward. And when you feel a little bit down, it's it's kind of like it's my church. That's how I recharge my spirit, is when I meet up with masterminds.
Yeah, well, that's why people go to church, to be around like-minded people, isn't it?
For sure. But I love being around entrepreneurial spirits, because it's always like there's never really it's a challenge, and how do you overcome it? Like that's the mindset that you need to be in.
But I think that, as we go forward, next week is desire, which is just really the start of everything. You need to know what it is you want. And, Napoleon Hill talks about the burning desire. It means you got to be in love with your idea, what it is you want, because there's so many distractions, not to mention your own conditioning, that's going to keep you from pursuing it. So, when we're talking about making that decision, you got to have that burning desire, which again, that's next week's episode that we'll be talking about. That's the number one of the 13 principles that are in Think and Grow Rich. I think it's going to be pretty exciting as we go along, because there's a tremendous amount of information in this book. And, but, that's the key, is you got to start somewhere. You have to decide, I'm going to do this, and chase after it. And you're going to have times where you want to quit. That's that 3 feet from gold. Right. But the key is, again, you're going to learn more as we go through the whole book, but, that's got more to do with how you've been conditioned to see things. Like, Walter was just talking about, conceive, believe, achieve. You got to believe it. Yeah. And when you have that faith, that helps you go that extra distance, that extra 3 feet to the goal. And a big part of that is, like we've been just talking about, getting expert advice. So get a mentor, or even just, coming on a call like this and listening, and, maybe even send comments or ask questions or something along those lines, and we'll do our best to answer them. I know that we're probably a little running late here, but probably, I guess, time to wrap it up. But any final thoughts anybody wants to say is before we head out?
No, I'm just excited to be part of this with all of you, and look forward to the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, I think. Anybody else?
Just excited about the journey. Go ahead, Karin.
No, sorry, Eric.
No,
It's
go
your
ahead, go ahead.
turn.
You got it. You got
There's
it.
too many polite people on this call.
Really, truly just excited about the journey. Again, just knowing that going through this mastermind, all of us are going to grow as well. And we're going to manifest some things that come from this particular mastermind that are going to be absolutely amazing. I've actually been taking notes as we've been talking, because again, just being in the presence of great people, your creative mind just starts flowing. So I've come up with yet another couple programs that I need to create. So I'm just excited about the things that are going to come from this, and encourage individuals, man, if you're looking to change your life, you definitely want to be here every Thursday at 3 p.m. for sure.
And I'm sure we'll also figure out the problem we had in the beginning too, or somebody will. I can't even see it. I'm not even sure it's working, but
There's the wisdom. There's the wisdom, Lee. We learn, and then we move on. Okay? Just keep it off.
Well, you, Karen, you got some final thoughts before we leave?
Yeah, I appreciate this mastermind. I appreciate you guys, and I am proud because I can say I attracted you. I attracted everything and the growth, and I'm excited to see the progress of everyone every single person here in the mastermind, and every single person who watches and joins the call every Thursday. It's excited, and never give up, because you are so close to your goal and to the gold. So it's just fun, and I thank you all. I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here, a part of this group, and yeah, I'm excited for next week.
I'm excited to have all of you joining us here too, and I'm excited about next week. And I guess we'll wrap it up at this point. Hopefully, it worked on Facebook. According to this, it is live, but I don't know. We'll figure out whatever went wrong last time. I think I maybe know, but one of you is probably smarter than me, because we'll get expert advice on what happened and why it didn't quite work the way it was supposed to. Because we were 3 feet from gold, and next week will be gold, right? So
yeah, right. There you go.
all right, guys.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
let's wrap up this live stream. And for those of you that have been watching, looks like there's I don't know how many. I have no idea. There's people watching, but anyway, we'll figure that out, and we'll do better next week. Next week is definitely the first principle. The 13 principles are found in the book. It's on desire. And it definitely is a very, very important part of all of this. Is you got to have that desire. You have to have that burning desire in your heart, because the journey isn't necessarily going to be easy. In fact, it may be very difficult. And the only way you're going to get there is if you have a burning desire inside, and you make a decision that you're not going to stop no matter what. And I think, again, having those experts and the people that can mentor, and hanging around with positive people that are moving forward is the key, because you're going to need help. I've needed help most of my life, and I doubt there's anybody on this call that hasn't at some point said, geez, I could use some help, right? And even, we were talking about Bob Proctor. Sorry that we've lost him, a great man, but he talked about it a lot himself. He had a lot of issues growing up, and look where he incredible success. He didn't even finish high school. So it's that burning desire inside. You're going to find the answers. And we're going to get into that next week. So hopefully those who are tuning in, and we'll tune in again next week, and maybe we'll have some more as well. So thanks everybody for being on the call with us, and we'll talk soon.
See you next
Appreciate
week.
it. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.